Jensen. I'm pastor of First Baptist Church in Plano, Illinois, and I'm here to welcome you to Through the Week. This is our Monday edition, and we're going to continue talking about the Christian life. What is it, and how do you do it, and all that sort of stuff. And the reason why we're focusing so much on it is because, well, basically, that's all there is for us. From the point of your regeneration, conversion, to the point of your glorification, everything in the middle is the Christian life, which is sanctification. Growing to be more like Christ. And so that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a mindset that is far different. And today, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. We're talking about the basic presuppositions that every individual has that guides their decision making and their actions. This presuppositional statement, am I of the world or am I in the world? Something that comes from John, are you of the world or are you in the world? There's a big difference there, and they create different presuppositions, and if you will, different world views. I have a good friend, and fortunately for me, he's a great guy. He's open-minded, and he's willing to discuss, and without getting all, hurt over things that I might say that he disagrees with. And fortunately for me, I have somebody like that in my life. And that individual right there, two of us are diametrically opposed. I would say to him, his God is science. And he would say to me, my God is crazy. But here it is. He thinks that the world exists on a certain plane. And I believe that the world exists on a wholly different plane. And this is the conversation that we're having right now. World versus godly. Sacred versus secular. As you understand the world and how you understand it will influence, and I tell you what, it goes far more than just simple influence. It will dictate for you how you will react to certain situations, and what you will believe is right and what is wrong, and how you will react to individuals that oppose your personal view. Because a worldview, or an individual's presuppositions, are extremely entrenched. Not only that, but they're extremely personal. And so we tend to operate like a pinball in a pinball machine, bouncing off this, that, and the other thing. But the deal that we need as Christians to understand is that no matter what we do or how we think, if the Bible can't change it, it's a bad line of thought. It's a bad thread. We need to be constantly examining ourselves according to the scriptures and asking ourselves, is this how God has set up our reality? Now, I'm not just saying it's a Christian reality. I'm saying all of reality is predicated upon the will of God. So all of reality falls into that. But we must understand that we are just like everybody else. None of us is born holy. There was only one guy born holy. That's not me. It wasn't you either. We all have these discrepancies within our own personalities, and we come to Christ with differing worldviews and presuppositions. Here's a guy who dealt a lot with that stuff. His name is Soren Kierkegaard, and I'm going to play a little quote for you. No, like worldly contempt, worldly honor is a whirlpool. a play of confused forces, an illusory moment in the flux of opinions. It is a sense deception, as when a swarm of insects at a distance seem to eye like one body. A sense deception, as when the noise of the many at a distance seems to the ear like a single voice. This is Soren Kierkegaard, and it comes from a book he wrote called Purity of Heart is to will one thing. To will one thing. So we're talking about deception. Sense deception is what Kierkegaard calls it. And he uses these metaphors. One is, say, like a flock of birds. Have you ever seen a flock of birds flying in the sky? And they all move, and it just seems like one flowing picture. But they're individual birds. They're not one unit. They seem like one. They operate like one. But they're not. They're individual things. And it is a sense deception. And he's saying that this is a lot like worldly honor. Honor in the world is about wealth, position, or stature. These are the things that the world honors. These are the things that the world deems important and worthy. But for Christians, their worldview is not like that. In Christianity, our worldview does not deem wealth as something that is conspicuously worthy of honor, or position, or stature. Because all of these things are submitted under the rule of God. We believe that the rich are there because they have a duty to supply the needs of the poor. The rich are there, and by the way, let me stop a second. Being rich is not a sin. Being rich is not necessarily a bad thing. It's not. Being rich is just being rich. But how you handle your richness, well, that's a different thing altogether, isn't it? Position. Having a wonderful position in society or government or whatever, there's nothing wrong with that. You got a great job. Hey, you'll love it. But it isn't what your job is, it's what you do with it. Or stature. There's nothing wrong with that. Many are born with stature simply because they have a specific name. And we call it being born with a silver spoon in your mouth. However, that individual didn't ask to be born with that name, with that moniker. No. And it isn't about stature. There's nothing wrong with stature. But it's what you do with it. Last Sunday, I spoke and I preached about you can do just about anything, but it's all just for show if it doesn't come from the heart, if it's not in your heart. Jesus said you can tell them by the fruit. You can tell whether it's a good tree or a bad tree by its fruit. So if your heart is evil, you're going to end up producing evil things. But if your heart is good, you will produce good things. And that's the point of godly versus worldly, of having a sacred worldview versus a secular worldview. I'm not saying that you cannot do good things as a secular person. I'm not saying that at all. Jesus said, "Who among you who are evil would give their son a stone when he asked for a piece of bread, or would give them a serpent when they asked for a fish? So you who being evil know how to give good gifts, how much more your Father in heaven?" Now, I'm not saying that just because you're secular, you're necessarily evil, or you're necessarily bad, or all your actions are corrupt. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying, however, is that this world has as its base the wrong things. Money is not what you should seek after. What you should seek after is what you can do with that money. Support the poor. Help widows and orphans in their affliction. Help ministry so that others can go about preaching the gospel. And if you can, spend your money on yourself so that you can go and preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. Position. Some people have really influential and very important positions, and they sway a lot of power. Use your power to help those who can't help themselves. Be a voice for someone who's never heard. There are so many in our culture today, in our society, in America, who are voiceless, who are never heard. I dare say, folks just don't even want to look at it, don't want to listen to it. Position. You can come from a wonderful place, have a great name, tons of wealth, but what's it for if not to be used for those who are in need? Because of the bent of the world. Most of the thoughts coming from worldly people are about themselves. Even Christians, I can't deny it, they've adopted that same thing. And they actually honor the world rather than God. However, now is the time to reevaluate who it is that you follow and how you intend to follow. Could be an idol, could be God. But if it is God, how do you intend to follow God? Every one of us has to make a decision as to how we are going to exercise our worldview, how we are going to embrace our presuppositions. And for what purpose? The world is deceptive, and it'll throw a bunch of things out there. And Christians, everybody, all human beings, lay subject. Choose you this day whom you will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Joshua. Take that to heart, my friends. Take that to heart, my brothers and sisters. It is time to change this world. It is time to bring in the kingdom of God. Choose whom you will serve. And choose how you will serve Him. Well, that's it for me. I'm out of here. Later. Bye.